Hi and welcome to Michelle Sews, where today I'm talking about a pattern hack of the Closet Core Pietra Pants. I should start by saying it's been a long time. I'm sorry I disappeared. Life got in the way. Let's just leave it at that. And get on to talking about what I've done with this pattern. So I have really loved this pattern since it was first released. You can probably tell because I bought it back when Closet Core, as they're now called, were Closet Case. And what I love about the pattern is the style lines. So the additional seam down the center front, the high waist of the trouser, and the deep slanted pockets on the side. Really love those. It comes in 3 views. So you have a wide leg trouser, you have a more slimline trouser, and you have a pair of shorts. All of them feature an elasticated waist at the back, and that for me is what I had to change because I have never found elasticated waist trousers to flatter me in the back, shall we say. So I wanted to find a way to completely eliminate the elastic. I believe Closet Core have a tutorial on their website for how to reduce the amount of elastic gathering in the trousers and to incorporate I think it's a side zip. So that may help you if you're not focused on trying to completely eliminate the elastic. But if what you want is 0 elastic and for it to just be a pair of zip-up trousers, then this is the tutorial for you. So let me explain what I've done. I'll start by going through how the pattern comes together, and then I'll show you what my trousers look like, and then I can talk you through how I actually achieve that. So if any of that sounds interesting, stay tuned. Let's start by talking through how the pattern fits together. So I'm taking the shorts as an example. You have the pocket piece, which I'll just turn this way so you can see it. It folds up on itself like so, and you then sew along this diagonal edge to join it to the side front. And this makes your side front short piece with pocket. That piece is then sewn onto the center front piece of the shorts, and that gives you your short front with your pocket down this side. There is then a facing for each of the side front and the center front, so those will be sewn together, and then the front is faced at the waist. Note that this is quite a deep facing. It is a high-waisted short, so I find that deep facing really nice in the front. It really helps to give you support for your stomach if you need it, like me. On the back of the shorts, you have one back piece. You don't have the center seam. And then you have a back waistband piece, which is sewn on to the back and folded down, and your elastic is threaded through this channel. You'll see here that this doesn't quite align because this waistband is on the fold. You sew the short backs together along this seam before this waistband is applied. And that is broadly how the pattern fits together. It's exactly the same thing for the wide leg trousers and the slimmer leg trousers. The only difference obviously is in the lengths of these pieces. So as I've said, I didn't want to have the elastic in the back. What I've done instead is convert the extra to darts, and I've taken off at the side seams. I've put in a centre back invisible zip, and I have created a facing in the back which is as deep as the facing in front. So I have a deep facing all the way around the trousers. I've just left this open to show you how that comes together. So I've basically joined my facing all the way around and then sewn it on as usual. It's just that it's a deeper facing than usual. And having shown you that, I will then tack this facing down to the seam allowances at intervals going around and sew it down by hand along the edge of the zip. So, in terms of the approach to hacking the pattern pieces, it's important to bear in mind that this is a high-waisted pair of trousers, so you're going to have 0 ease along the final waistline seam. And that means that once I had adjusted for the height of the back trouser pattern piece, which I'll explain in the next section, I then had to measure on the pattern pieces around my new waistline edge, so not the original waist edge of the back trouser pattern, but my new adjusted pattern piece, eliminating the seam allowance, and then also the side front and the centre front pieces, again ignoring seam allowance or taking away the seam allowance from those measurements to work out what is the final waist measurement of the pattern pieces as they stand. And then that will be much larger than your final desired waist measurement because the elastic would have been pulling that in. So you're going to work out what is the difference between that and your body measurement at a high-waisted level. So if you measure around your sort of circumference, if you measure around at a high-waisted point where you want the trousers to sit, don't add any ease to that and work out what the difference is between that and the waist measurement on the pattern. That is the amount that we need to eliminate. So when I refer in the next section to eliminating, I think it was about 6 inches, that's what that difference was for me. And you need to work it out for you. So what I have here is the trace off of the back trouser piece, and I've just gone over the top part in black marker so that you can see that more clearly, hopefully. So this is the original back trouser piece, and it has a back waistband piece which looks like this. I'll just say it looks like this, and that gets folded, sewn onto the waist seam and folded down, and then your elastic runs along this channel. Now, because we're eliminating the elastic, I had to account for the height that would have been on that waistband on my pattern piece. So the first thing I did was I've marked the seam allowances in red on the trouser and here, and this is done after the fact, so you ignore that, but this is the point that this needs to be aligned to because this piece is on the fold on this side. So you just align this edge with that seam allowance here and then align the red lines, and then I traced off, and there's a slant here so you have to kind of walk it along and trace off to see where that edge would be. And then I've added seam allowance here because this is a folded edge on the waistband, but on my pattern that's just going to be a seam, so I added seam allowance along the top, which is why you can see that little extra bit up there. I hope that makes sense. So I've accounted for the height of the waistband, and that takes my pattern piece up to here. And then, having measured around, I worked out how much ease I needed to remove from the pattern for it to fit my waistband without being elasticated. And I can't remember the exact figure, but let's say the figure was around about 6 inches. So what I've done is to split that across 2 darts and the side seam. So I've come in 1 inch at the side seam, at the top, what's the new top edge of the pattern, come in at 1 inch here, and I've got 2 darts that are 1 inch each. I kind of played around with the spacing here. I've got them, I think, 2.5 inches from the centre back seam, and then this is slightly closer to this than to the side seam edge. And yeah, that's essentially my amended pattern now. So it's going to go up to the top. It's been lengthened, it's had some come off the side, an inch here, an inch here, an inch here. That's 3 inches out, and on the other side, so that's 6 inches removed in total. I think I needed to do double darts because otherwise the outtake on a single dart would have been really huge, and that can lead to some issues. So I've converted the elastication in the back to a slight angle on my side seam and 2 darts. I know that this leaves this side seam on a different angle to the side seam on the side front and pocket pieces, but I figure that's okay because it would have happened anyway. So I will, when I sew up, see if that leads to any issues of sort of distortion or strange behaviour at the side seams, but I'm hoping that this is not too big a deal. If it does seem to cause any issues, then what I could do is take that 1 inch and split it so that I take 1/2 inch off from the back pattern piece and 1/2 inch from the corresponding side front pattern piece, so that the side seams then do match. But we'll see what that looks like when it's done. So now we've eliminated the back waistband piece, we now need a back facing, which should match up to the side front facing that carries through from the centre front. So I just traced off the trouser pattern, the back trouser piece, to the same depth as the depth of the facings in the front of the trousers, and I have traced off the darts. Sorry, I should have recorded this really, but I traced off the darts and I slashed along one edge, created a hinge and overlapped to close out the darts. So that gives you now, instead of the piece with darts at the top, you have a single piece with a curved seam here. So I'm just going to true this seam nicely, draw out my new seam at the bottom. This is space that has opened up because the darts have closed, so that's fine. I need to add my grain line back in from the original pattern piece, and I'll probably remove the seam allowance here so that this can go back to being a fold on the centre back edge. But that's the back waistband done, and that's essentially all the changes that I think I need to make to account for removing the waistband and the elastic from the pattern. That's actually pretty much all I had to show you about this hack. So I hope it's been helpful. Please leave a comment below if it has been, or if you've got any questions, anything that was unclear, let me know and I'll see whether I can hopefully explain a bit better in response. Otherwise, until next time, happy sewing. See you soon.